you confused as to how the bloody card system works? Well, you're not alone, so let's sort that right out, right now. With me, your guide to cards, Bong. Before we get down to the nitty gritty, I'm going to assume you've played Paragon a few times and at the very least have unlocked the ability to build your own card decks. If you haven't, this becomes available at Profile Level 5. Firstly, let's get affinities out of the way. There are technically 6, and each card has an affinity that it is assigned to. These 6 consist of Fury, Growth, Intellect, Order, Corruption, and finally Universal, which some could argue is for cards with a lack of affinity, but it's an affinity all the same, so there's 6. Every hero has 2 affinities, shown on the character select screen, and of course they can use universal cards as well. Grux, for example, can use Fury and Corruption cards. The cards available from Fury and Corruption seem to all revolve around things like critical hits, lifesteal, armor piercing, attack speed. Things that lend themselves very well to Grux, who's an initiator style of hero. He requires high damage output and lifesteal to kind of stick it out in the longer fights. Gideon has an affinity for Intellect and Corruption. He's a caster who uses high amounts of mana. The Intellect cards provide this, as well as lifesteal and armor piercing equipment cards, and those play nicely into the Corruption cards. Finally, someone like Muriel uses Growth and Order cards. These cards seem to focus around boosting max health, max mana, armor and shields. Muriel is best when she's constantly shielding and assisting her allies and boosting their effectiveness, so having lots of mana and shields can only really make her more survivable and make her more useful so she can cast for longer in the team fights. The affinities play into the intended strengths of each individual hero. You cannot use cards outside of your hero's affinity. The deck builder, it simply won't allow you to do that. You can, however, mix and match between the affinities you have available to you. So for instance, the Corruption equipment card, Blood-Soaked Armor, can be upgraded with the Fury upgrade card, Vicious Kinetic, but only on a hero like Grux, who, as we mentioned earlier, uses Fury and Corruption. You could not do this with Gideon. Gideon can use the Corruption equipment card, Blood-Soaked Armor, but he cannot use the Fury upgrade card, Vicious Kinetic. He would instead have to use one of the Universal Kinetic cards to upgrade the attack speed attribute on the equipment card. I feel like we've covered affinities clearly enough, but now we've drifted into equipment cards and upgrading them, which initially can be quite confusing. The UI in Paragon it's not finished, and the game is in alpha cum beta state, so we can forgive this for now. Let's focus down on a few equipment cards and what we can and can't upgrade on them. The Windcarver Blade is a universal equipment card. Any hero can add this into their deck. When you buy it for 3 card points, it alone will give you 7.6 physical damage and 6.5 attack speed. It has 3 upgrade slots, and when it's fully upgraded it will grant you another 7.6 physical damage and 6.5 attack speed for no additional cost. Once you add that 3rd upgrade card, the bonus attributes will be unlocked. I personally believe it's quite important to upgrade cards ASAP so you can get more bang for your card point buck, but I'm not going to tell you how to play the game, that's up to you. Now we have our Windcarver Blade equipped, and let's say we have 2 universal upgrade cards, Major Strike and Greater Health. Even though the Windcarver Blade is a universal equipment card and both the upgrade cards are universal, only Major Strike can be applied. It grants 22.7 physical damage. You can only upgrade stats that are present on the equipment card. You cannot add new attributes to a card with upgrades. Having matching affinities is also irrelevant. The Fury card, Vicious Kinetic, which adds 26 attack speed, can be added to the Windcarver Blade, but only, as we mentioned previously, if your hero has an affinity to Fury. Let's look at another card that might cause confusion. The Chronomancer Disc. This is another universal equipment card, usable by every hero. It grants 75 max mana and 7.6 energy damage, so something someone like Gideon might utilise. It has an additional attribute that is unlocked when fully upgraded, this being a 5% cooldown reduction, useful for the budding sorcerer looking to deal out his devilish magics more quickly. Again, let's say we have the Chronomancer Disc equipped and have some upgrade cards we want to use. Chrono, a universal upgrade card that grants 5.0 cooldown reduction, Pure Mana, an Order upgrade card that adds 225 max mana, and Major Cast that adds 22.7 energy damage. One of these cards can't ever be used on the Chronomancer Disc. One could always be used, and the last could be used but only by certain heroes. Even though the card has a 5% cooldown reduction on it as a maxed bonus attribute, this cannot be upgraded, and so the Chrono upgrade card is useless to us here. You can only upgrade stats that are present when you initially purchase the card. Any bonuses are just that, a bonus for upgrading the card. If you're looking to add tons of cooldown reduction, you need to look for a different card that has cooldown reduction as a basic attribute. Genesis Torch, for example. Assuming we are playing Gideon, we cannot use the Pure Mana card. Even though Chronomancer Disc has it as a primary stat, we can only use Intellect and Corruption cards with him. If we were playing Steel or Muriel, we could happily use Pure Mana here to upgrade the max mana attribute on the card. Major Cast, a universal card, could always be used by any hero to upgrade the Chronomancer Disc. So hopefully you now fully comprehend how equipment cards and upgrading them works. Let's move on. For the last part of this video, let's very quickly touch on deck building. Each deck can only contain up to 40 cards. One of these cards must be your Prime Helix card, and there are currently only 3 to choose from. The Prime card becomes active when your team kills that big purple bastard Orbulon and delivers his bright pink magical orb to the platform shown on your minimap. I would always highly recommend double and triple checking that you add a health and mana card to your deck before hitting save and heading out into the matchmaking. It's an easy mistake to make, but one that you'll quickly facepalm over the moment you start a game. The equipment and upgrade cards vary in cost. Buying more expensive upgrade cards doesn't give you any extra stats in the long run. For example, in attack speed, every card point spent per upgrade card only confers 6.5 attack speed. This is the same across the board. One card point only buys you a certain amount of each particular stat. So why have the choice? Why be able to upgrade a 1 point or a 5 point? Surely it's better to always upgrade the 5 points, right? Wrong! It's all about optimizing how many stats you're increasing using the maximum of 60 card points you've got to spend, assuming that the game is going to go on that long. I believe one of the best combinations for decks is having low cost equipment cards and low cost upgrade cards so that you can complete and max out those upgrade cards. You'll then obtain a free stat increase. In the early stages of the game, maybe card levels 9, 12, 15, you're going to have a slight increase of stats over somebody that hasn't bought cheaper cards. Later on in the game, we've maybe used that advantage to get ahead. We've got loads of kills, loads of card points to spend, but our bar is all full up with fully upgraded low-cost equipment cards. Well, luckily, you can sell those equipment cards and gain back their card points, including any card points spent on upgrades. Once you sell these cards, however, you'll not be able to rebuy them during that game. Any upgrade cards used to upgrade the lower cost equipment cards will also be lost. So you need to build your deck wisely. You need to plan for the eventuality that you're going to sell maybe your low cost cards and replace them with bigger and badder cards in the endgame. We could waffle on until the cows come home about specific cards, specific builds and things like that, but this video's gone on long enough and I think I've given you the basics to start exploring card building and how the card system works on your own. One issue that I'm having personally is that I don't have enough cards to build the deck that I've theory crafted outside of the game. If you're stuck in the same boat as me, then I advise you to do what I'm doing, which is to level each hero to level 3. The reward is a free card pack. Also, don't forget that every 3 weeks we're going to get a brand new hero in which we can do this with as well. I don't think the grind to level 3 is really that bad, maybe 7 to 10 games with each hero, which personally in a MOBA I think is quite important to do anyway, because it's good to know what your enemy can do to you, and what better way to learn a hero than playing him. And on that note, I'm going to leave you there. I enjoyed making this video and I hope you enjoyed it as well. If you did enjoy it,